there, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path, which is located in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be showing you a throwback to an older project that I did a couple of years ago. I'm going to be showing you how to make the watermelon ball again, or just the very basic beaded bead, but I'm going to be showing you a new project with that beaded bead. This is going to be a necklace that has a lot of variety to it. But this is the original sample of my necklace. It has the beaded beads all the way around on chain. And then I finished it off with some really pretty big 14mm size twist beads, 12 or 14s. Here is another one that I've done with cocoa all the way around. And again, same thing, finished it off with some beads and chain. So what I'm going to show you today, instead of the whole necklace, since I just showed it to you and you can understand how to do that, is I'm going to show you how to do one if you just want your beads kind of in the front on that chain, and then finish it off with either beads or another type of chain. If you want to do the whole necklace, I used 4mm round pearls. It was just easier to use the round pearls. And you're going to need about 444 to make a 16-inch necklace. You're going to need two 10 to 14mm beads. It doesn't matter which one you choose. A clasp of your choice. Two 4-inch pieces of 20-gauge wire. 14.5 inches of 2mm chain. This is a very thin chain, but I'm going to be using a Bicone brand. It's a very thin chain, but at the same time the links are a little thicker, so it'll hold its weight pretty well. You're also going to need either some split rings or jump rings, as well as if you do the whole necklace, you're going to need 50 foot of the illusion cord, and you might need a bead reamer. When I use the pearls, I go ahead and I take a bead reamer and ream out the holes before I use them, because if I don't use needles for this project, so it can get a little hard trying to get your threads back through your beads. So I do recommend, if you're going to use pearls, to go ahead and ream all the holes before you get started. You will save yourself more time reaming your holes beforehand than you will trying to get the beaded beads done. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start you off and show you how to actually refresh you on how to make the beaded bead. Then I'm going to show you the projects that I'm going to do today. So get your materials together and we'll get started. I've started out with about 16 inches of illusion cord. No needles, because I've already reamed the holes in my beads. It takes 12 beads to make one ball. Now this is going to be either a refresher or you're going to learn how to do it. So I'm going to thread on 3 beads and let those fall. Then I'm going to pick up one and I'm going to cross my threads opposite ways through that one bead, so that when I put my threads together and pull, it's going to make a little circle or box of 4 beads. This is my first box. The next one, I'm going to have 1 bead on each thread. Then I'm going to pick up 1 bead, cross my threads opposite ways through that 1 bead. Pull it down, and now I have 2 boxes. 1 bead onto each thread. Pick up 1 bead and cross your needles opposite ways through the 1 bead. So that gives you 3 boxes. So we're working on the very last box here. So I'm going to put 1 bead onto each box, or 1 bead onto each thread. And I'm going to cross the threads opposite ways through this first 4mm down here on the end. It's this very end one. so that when I pull the thread, it makes it into a little tiny spherical beaded bead. Now I'm going to take one thread and I'm going to stitch it around to the other side so that my threads will exit out next to each other. And I'm going to go ahead and take the two threads and tie them together into a couple of good knots. Once that's done, you can go ahead and trim those threads. And you will continue to make however many beaded beads it is that you want. For the all the way around necklace like this one, you're going to need, I believe it's 37. But like I said, I'm going to show you something a little bit different today. Don't want it to go all the way around, so I'm just going to change my little pattern here. I'm going to do a pattern of a light pink and a dark pink all the way down. Let me grab my chain. This is the chain I'll be using. It is a 2mm link chain, but the links are a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? They're a little thicker, so it makes it a little easier to use. Now, you can take a piece of your leftover illusion cord that you just used, or you can try and thread them on. It's hard to just kind of thread it through and get it through. So, I'm actually going to take a little piece of scrap wire, and I'm going to take and thread it through this end piece of chain, and I'm going to press it, and if I have to, I'll use my flat nose pliers to press it together a little bit here. So that way I can get my beads through it. Now I'll just take my ends, stick them through the hole in the ball, and pull so that my ball goes onto my chain. Now I do this, I don't normally take my chain and cut my chain off and thread the beads on there, because you end up wasting chain if you don't want it to go all the way around. So I just leave my chain attached and then I cut it when I'm ready to finish it off. So I'm just going to keep threading my beads on here. Until you get the desired amount. If you want your beads to go all the way around, you'll just thread on every beaded bead that you've made. And I love the way it feels. Like when I actually wear the beaded bead necklace, I love the way it feels. The only problem is I hate to do stuff over and over and over, and I just can't stand to sit there. And after I've made so many of these beaded beads, I'm about sick of them. So alright, let's see. I do believe, I think I'm going to add 2 more. Oh, what the heck, I'll just go ahead and finish out what I got here on my map. Alright, now once I have all my beads added, my beaded beads added here, I'm going to take this extra piece of wire that I used, and I'm going to take it off, And I'm going to use a fresh piece of 20 gauge wire. This is about 4 inches of the 20 gauge. Whoop, sorry guys. Very sorry about that. I'm going to start out by making a loop. And when I make the loop, I'm going to come down about an inch, inch and a half. I'm going to start a loop here. Come back around, and before I actually finish off that loop, I'm not going to wrap it completely, and I'm going to take the bead or the extra little end wire here and thread it onto the loop. I'm going to grab a hold and use my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to wrap just a couple of times. I don't want a whole lot of wraps. But once I get that done, I'm going to take and trim the thread here, and then I'm going to thread on one of my beads. Now, before I actually finish off this end, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other end so I can measure my length and see how much length I have here. So I'm going to let all my beads drop down. Now the only problem is you're going to have to be careful and not let your beads roll over your loop here while I do this. If you were going to make a necklace, it would be no problem, like actually complete the necklace, it would be no problem, because you could just kind of finish off one end and then cut your chain. Okay. So here's all my beads. I want to make sure I don't have any loose chain in there. So make sure you get it all down there. Okay. So you don't want any kind of loose chain in there. You want it just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut and leave myself just a couple of chain links here. Then I'm going to take my other piece of 20 gauge wire and make the loop. I'm going to use my pliers to grab a hold here of my end link of chain, and I'm going to thread through the chain and finish out my wrap. And trim. So that now you have this front part of your necklace. Now I'm going to be using a thicker chain. I'm using a much thicker chain to finish off the end of it. So I'm going to find the end of my chain here, thread on my big bead, and I'm going to start my loop. Now same thing, before I finish off the loop, I'm going to thread on my end link of big chain. Then I'll finish the wrap. I know people are going to ask why I use such a big bead there on the end, and it's because you don't want your beaded beads to slide off of what you're doing, so you'll want to make sure that your bead is big enough to stop your beads from going anywhere. So I'll trim off that extra piece, and then I'll measure however long I want this end to be for half of the necklace, I'll measure and trim the chain. Okay, so I have the length that I want for this side of the necklace, and this particular chain is a very thick chain, but the loops do open. So I've put a split ring on one end of my clasp, and I'm gonna thread it through and then close the ring. If you don't have chain that will open like this, use your split ring and put it on just like you would a key ring, so that this side is complete. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this other side here, and then I will show you the completed piece. So here's the completed necklace. As you can see, it just has the beaded beads here on the front, and then it's finished off with the chain. You do have the option, like I said, of doing the beads all the way around, and it will look just as good. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make the beaded bead necklace. We do have the kits and the pattern available on our website for this project. If you buy the kit, you will receive enough beads in the whole kit to make the entire necklace full of the beaded beads. Completely up to you how you want to do it, but you will receive that that amount of beads. So be sure and come back next week when we'll start on another great new project. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.